All right, hello, welcome. I know the Rams fans, what they call it, the Ramley. We got Danny Stone and I. We're going to do a Rams specific episode. As you can see the title here, Week 5, Rams Breakdown. They're going to head to Green Bay. Before I dive into it, welcome, Danny Stone, right at Turf Show Time. What's going on, man?
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to discussing this. I think it's a home game for the Rams, which is hopefully in their favor. And I'll definitely look forward to doing our usual predictions things with Mac. But I think this is going to be a lot of fun and might not be as long as our usual episode, but we can kind of just dive into Rams Packers specifically, which we don't always get to do that because we usually cover more than one game.
Yeah, exactly like Dan just said. Normally we do videos covering all the games. However, today we're going to do Rams exclusive. Taking a bye week. We're not going to do a video on our game by game analysis, game picks. We will have a new one next week with a new layout, new everything. I'm excited to break it out, but today's Rams only. I got a new hoodie, very soft.
Beautiful.
Super Bowl, Super Bowl. But yeah, we'll hop right into it. The Rams are, you said, at home against Green Bay. Jordan Love is back. I actually will go with first. Say who do you think's gonna win this game? You want to start with that and go into a breakdown, or what do you want to do?
I can just we'll why bury the lead
Yeah.
as they say. I'm going to pick the Green Bay Packers. I pretty much wrote up my predictions article, which I'll try to link this video in for anybody who read the article and found the video there, or who will read the article. Which happy and thanks for doing that. But I'm going to pick the Green Bay Packers. Obviously, I'm a Rams fan. I'd love to pick the Rams. For what it's worth, I have in my prediction articles same thing as it was last week. I haven't gotten one right all year. I have written the article incorrectly every time. But I am going to pick the Green Bay Packers here, and we can kind of get into why. But I'm kind of thinking you're going the same way.
So I don't know. I'm kind of back and forth. I originally wrote out all my picks, and I had a lot of the favorites winning. So I went back, and I'm like, you know what? This season, a lot of the underdogs are winning. So I kind of want to flip a couple. Surprisingly, don't get mad. Maybe a homer pick. I actually picked the Rams to win in this one.
Okay.
Reasons I picked that, I never wish injuries on a opponent player, but sometimes I wondered, did they come back too soon? Jordan Love, yeah, I threw 4 touchdowns last week, but also 3 picks. I didn't watch the game. I didn't see the highlights, so I don't know how he looked. So I wonder if he came back too soon. I know there was talks that injury could be multiple weeks, and he's missing his Watson. Although they have a lot of receivers, I know you said you're not too familiar with the injuries on the Packers. They have a lot of receivers, a lot of young talent, so I think missing Watson won't hurt him. But the reason why I'm picking the Rams is I think they have a bye week next week, so they're going to go all out, just go hard, and then just rest next week. So I kind of have it. I think I'd say Rams 27, Packers 21, 22. I know 22 is a weird number, but hey,
Okay.
I'll say it.
So a bit of a shootout, dare I say, not like a super shooter or anything, but that's quite a few touchdowns. I had the Packers winning, I think 24-14, something like that, 28-14. I want to believe in the Rams offense. They didn't look very good against the Bears, and I think the Bears actually might have a really good defense. Not to say the Packers don't. I just think the Bears might be a top unit, and the Packers, just because I listen to a lot of fantasy podcasts, like I think the Matthew Berry one was saying, they've given up quite a few plays of 20 yards plus.
Mm-hmm.
And we know Matthew Stafford can sling it. Is the offensive line going to hold up? Are they going to have, as McVay called them, uncharacteristic mistakes like last week that led to a strip sack, that led to some, I guess, I'll say it again, uncharacteristic mistakes apparently that McVay feels like his team doesn't normally make. So I definitely think the Rams can win. I just can't in good conscience pick them. This isn't even like a reverse jinx thing where I'm like, because I'm going to pick my picks, honestly, and I just can't in good conscience pick them. I could see Jordan Love crushing them with Jaden Reed. I could see Josh Jacobs having a big game. It might be Jalen Reed. But either way, having a big game. And the Rams have Tutu Atwell. Kyron Williams has been good, but they've been losing. Gosh, SamMeeBee, I don't know. I could go on and on.
Yeah, like I said, we're not doing our game by game picks, so I already typed up who I'm picking and emailed it to you. And I said I had a lot of favorites. That's why I went back and changed it, because a lot of the stats I'm going to present here, yeah, it says take Green Bay. Don't even think about it. You already mentioned the 20 yards plus, and I actually had a stat about that. The Packers have thrown for 20 plus yards on 17 of 122 pass attempts, which is actually second best in the NFL. And the Rams defense has allowed 20 plus yards on 14% of attempts this season, which is tied for worst. So
okay, that's not good.
So yeah, you already mentioned 20 yards. Yeah.
Well,
So
I think the Packers, for what it's worth, have given up a lot of deep plays too. Like, and I can be mistaken, but that's my understanding. And the scoring's down across the league compared to years past. So I mean, this could be a bit of a defensive game, but I actually expect both teams to have at least 2 touchdowns here. And unfortunately, if you're a Rams fan, I expect the Packers to be able to move the ball a bit better. And McVay has never beaten Matt LaFleur as a head coach. He's 0-4 against Matt LaFleur. I mean, eventually streaks have got to end, right? Like that's what I kind of think. But shoot, it's just really hard for me to pick the Rams right now. But then again, Sammy B, if I may, not to take all the airtime, but everybody thought, including me, they were going to lose it to the San Francisco 49ers, and they won. So maybe this team needs to have its back against the wall to show its best version of itself, I guess. But gosh.
No, so many things you said exactly where I had it written down in my notes. I think we're kind of along the lines of a lot of things
Mhm.
that, hey, the streak's got to break, right? That's another reason why I said, because like you said, Matt LaFleur has won most of these games against Sean McVay. And actually, in his career before McVay did beat the Rams a lot. So I wrote, the streak's got to end, right? It ended with San Francisco. So I'm hoping on it. And not just that, Stafford against the Packers is 2-12 as an underdog.
Oof.
As an underdog, as it was a highlight, so I'm not sure how many times he was favored. But 2-12 straight up, yeah, that's not good. And I mentioned last time about the passing, but on the rushing, it gets worse. The Packers have rushed for 698 yards this season, second most in the NFL, and the Rams have allowed 664 yards, most in the NFL.
Good grief.
So as I'm saying, I did look up some numbers. You said, yeah, Packers probably give up a lot. A lot of the stuff I saw trying to find positive notes for the Rams, like Packers were like ninth, like in the middle of the pack. So I'm like, I don't want to bring that note up. But these notes here of the worst, the best, it's like, oh my god. So it's like the best rush offense, best versus versus the worst. It's just rough.
I mean,
It's
it
rough.
might not matter, but I think a silver. I think it'd be a lot harder if they were going up to Lambeau,
Hmm.
just because of the fan atmosphere. So hopefully they'll have a good crowd on their side. But if Green Bay starts blowing them out, the crowd's going to leave, obviously.
Yeah,
But you know,
and I think Packers fans, I know Steelers fans, I will definitely say travel really well. I think
yeah,
Green Bay is one of them that pass travel as well, pretty good.
they
Last week
probably do.
during our weekly breakdown for games, I mentioned how Stafford and McVay duo are not good as underdogs. I think it's 5-13 straight up. So they were underdogs last week by 1.5. Sure enough, they lost. So this week they're underdogs by 3 points. So you picked the Packers to win. I think you had 24-14, so you had them covering as well. And I
Yeah,
do a lot of the betting side. So I was looking at some of the numbers. They have the team totals set Packers 25.5 and Rams 22.5. So that should be interesting. Here's one I think. Do you think so? Combined passing, this is between Jordan Love and Matthew Stafford, do they combine for 490 yards? Do you think they go higher or lower than that?
490.
Yeah, that's you can find that on not a sponsored BetMGM. You can find
I,
490
I
combined.
wouldn't take that. I guess it's. I mean, that's why they are the best at what they do. It could go either way, right? Like I could
Hmm.
see Jordan Love having 300 yards by himself, and Matthew Stafford for 200 yards is, I think, fairly automatic. I know that I've watched him have some not so good games, but that's not all on him, obviously. But we've all seen him have games with not the most yardage, is what I'm trying to say. I think I take that. I think I actually, you know what, Sammy B, I'm sorry. I can't remember if I picked 24-10 or what I picked, but either way, I
Hmm.
do think this game has potential because especially if Green Bay gets up to like a 28-7 lead or something like that, I could see the Rams kind of making a little bit of a run, but ultimately falling. I don't even know if I'd say short, but I could just see Green Bay just kind of scoring at will and the Rams maybe scoring here and there. I
Yeah,
can't stress enough how much I'm rooting for them. I just can't.
and like I said, I was trying to find a positive note for the Rams, and I found this one. It says dating back to last season, Kyron Williams has scored a touchdown in 7 consecutive regular season games, which is tied for the Montgomery. Do you think he keeps the streak going? Do you think he scores again?
I do. I mean, I have him in fantasy, so I'm kind of biased there, but I think he's a really good running back. I mean, I don't know where he ranks in the top 5. He might be a top 5, but I'd have to sit down and probably give that more thought. But I think he's a really good running back, and if the Rams can figure out, at least from what I think we've seen, converting drives into touchdowns and points more consistently. Like,
Mhm.
yes, they need more touchdowns, but they also need to be just converting drives into points because even in last week's game, I think they're up 6-0, and then they get a strip sack. And it's like, even if they would have driven down and made it 9-0, that's a two
Mhm.
possession game. Like, they just aren't, they're not building momentum in a way to take a game over. I have not seen that this year. I mean, they're 1-3, so I guess that's the obvious. And the Green Bay game, or excuse me, the Frisco game, a few drops, take away a few drops, or make turn those drops into catches, and the Niners probably win. And I'm not saying it's a lucky win. That's not what it is. But it's just the Rams. I have not seen them take control of a game in a way that I think they would like to see, and certainly that fans would like to see. Every game has been very stressful. Um, I don't know.
Yeah. No, and I did see one of the stats. The Rams have run 19% of offensive plays in the red zone this season, tied for third best in the NFL. And Packers have allowed their opponents to run 17% of plays in the red zone, tied for seventh worst. But
Okay.
me being a Rams fan, and you probably can justify this too, like we're watching the game, so we know just because you're in the red zone doesn't mean you're scoring. So
No.
if I see it correctly, according to team rankings, if you're going by touchdown only in the red zone, the Rams have got touchdown 41% of the red zone trips, which is fifth worst in the NFL. So they're
Wow.
getting to the red zone, but they're not converting.
Right.
And I've seen luck factors because I know Kansas City is 4-0, but if you look, I think it's all one possession games, and it can easily, not gonna say easily flip to 0-4, but so you mentioned luck, lucky wins. I can see. I'm hoping for a lucky win, but the Rams get down. They get in the red zone, but they're not converting. It's not good.
Well, it's not good at all. And another silver lining, I guess, that we have here would be the fact that the Rams are 1-3 with a chance to go 2-3 into a bye. Jordan Love, I think, is really good. And like you said, obviously we don't wish injury, but I think it's fair to say he's probably not at 100%, which is
Mhm.
probably a beneficial thing for LA, which is the reality of it. Football is a zero-sum game. You win or you lose, you're hurt or you're not. And I think, too, I think that if Jared Verse, and this has kind of been the talk on the internet this week, I feel like Jared Verse is getting pressures, he's getting hurry ups, but he isn't converting sacks and tackles for loss.
Mhm.
And tackles for losses and sacks can literally lead to wins because those can absolutely stall a drive. And if he can convert those, and if the secondary cannot wipe away those with holding calls, which has been happening a lot with Tre'Davious White, and not just him though. I mean, I think there's real potential for this team to be really good if they can play a clean game and maybe get a little lucky with the officiating. Because I don't feel like the officiating, and I know I'm biased here, but Matthew Stafford certainly doesn't seem to get the same protection calls that I see other quarterbacks get. And I
Mhm.
do feel like they're almost looking for Tre'Davious White to have a holding call. So they're just calling it every time they see it. Because we see people get away with the stuff he's doing every game, and they just seem to be catching him every time, which is, I don't know how much of that's on him or luck or whatever you want to. So I guess I share all that to say to you, I think the Rams can do it. I
Mhm.
just don't think they will do it.
Now, I was traveling last week, and I think I'm traveling this Sunday. So it's four straight Sundays of traveling where I haven't got to watch the Rams. I watched week one. I watched the whole because it was Sunday night.
Okay.
And then
Yeah. Yeah.
mhm. Mhm.
I wouldn't say it's necessarily a strength of the team. I mean, the strength is really, can Matthew Stafford will this offense for points? I mean, they'll go as far as Matthew Stafford can handle it. And Tutu Atwell's been doing his thing. He's been balling out, and Kyron Williams. But I mean, man, SamMeeBee, you know how it is.
Well,
They've got a lot of injuries on the offensive line and at their top two receivers. So Matthew Stafford has a lot to overcome. And they really have a lot to overcome because this defense is different. They don't have Aaron Donald. And I'll hand the mic over to you, but I just wanted to complete that thought. There's just a lot of things going on this year that I don't think they anticipated going into the season.
No, like I said, I've been traveling a lot, haven't watched too much, so I definitely wanted to hear your inputs. And the reason I asked specifically about the offensive line, again, all the stats I'm seeing, it's like, this is terrible. It's like the current Panthers playing the Tom Brady Patriots because it's just the stats are not looking good. I saw
Sure.
the Rams offensive line Matthew Stafford has been sacked 14 times through 4 games, which is his second most through 4 weeks in his career.
He's
And he's
getting
been
beat
around
up.
for 15 years, so for that to be a second most, like, oh man, I can't believe that.
I'm glad you say that because I wanted to say it earlier, but I didn't have any stats to back it. But it
Yeah.
looks like he's getting hit a lot out there. And that's what worries me because it's not just him,
hmm
but certainly him. But any quarterback cannot take that kind of abuse over the course of a season. Like I think it was Sam Howell a couple years ago who led the league in sacks. And I mean, credit to him for surviving it. But like Stafford cannot do that. I mean,
Yeah.
uh,
And I don't know for PFF, for Pro Football Focus, I don't know
yeah.
how they get their rankings, but you already mentioned the names Tre'Davious White and Kobe Durant, the two corners they have. They rank 98th and 103 out of 107 corners.
That's
So
terrible.
I might be considered the worst. Unless I'm saying the more I look into it, I'm like, there's no way the Rams gonna win. But then any given Sunday, right? I'm trying to be hopeful.
Well, no, 100%. And honestly, like people are complaining about Verse not finishing. He had two sacks last week, wiped away by holding calls. I think one of them was on White, and another one was on somebody else. Well, I think it might have been one of the safeties. And they have pieces, but the defense isn't playing cohesively and as one as often as we'd like to see. But we have seen it because even though the 49ers. Sure, Ronnie Bell didn't convert that third down that I'm sure if Mac was here, he would make a face because we're bringing it up. It's painful to think about as a Niners fan, but still, give the Rams defense their flowers. They made some big stops that game to give the Rams a chance to win, and they're going to have to do that. And we've seen it, but they got to do it more consistently. And I'm sure McVay and Chris Shula are like, we've got something here, but it's got to be consistent. And I'm sure Les Snead and the rest of the teams and we're waiting for Darius Williams to come back. We're still getting Ahkello Witherspoon back into the fold, who was great for the Rams last year. And I believe they signed him a couple weeks ago. So he's building back up. Like there is a chance where this defense, not going to say shut down, but seriously improves. And I guess as we kind of wind down our call, even if the Rams fall to 1-4, they are not out of the picture. They go into a bye week. Hopefully they can recover, maybe get Cooper Kupp back, who can actually stay back, which would be great. Maybe Darius Williams comes back. Maybe Witherspoon gets more back into the fold and is more like we saw last year, who had 4 interceptions and was really good overall. So I still believe in this team. I know it's not very likely. I don't think there's been a team to go 1-3 and make the playoffs in the modern era or whatever the stat is, but it's a 17 weeks season, which is different. The dynamic kickoffs are different. And the playoff seeding's different over the last few years. So I just think they're just not dead yet to me. This, as awful as some of the things you've pointed out and I've pointed out are.
Yeah, I mean, you just gotta make the playoffs. That's how That's what I'm trying to tell my fantasy team, but they're not listening. You just gotta make the playoffs. Turn around.
I'm 0-4 in the league. I'm right there. I looked today though, and I'm 0-4 in the league, and it says I have a 20% chance. So hey, we'll go with it.
No, like you've highlighted, there's a lot there. It's like they got the bye coming up. So to me, like I said, they went all out to beat San Francisco, and I'm like, if they can beat San Francisco, surely they can beat the Bears, right? Well, that didn't happen. So I wonder if McVay is just like, you know what, we got the bye week coming up. It's just whatever he wants. I just want him to break the streak. That's why I'm being hopeful about it.
100%. And then after they play Green Bay after the bye week, I believe they come back and play the Las Vegas Raiders before a Thursday night game against the Vikings. So the Vikings are really good. and the Raiders might be, we don't exactly know what a lot of these teams are yet, but I would say the Raiders, as much as the Rams are, both teams are beatable. So if they can beat Green Bay and then take the bye week, come out, I mean, they can, I think they can get a shot at this, but we'll see. It's long ways to go and they got to actually do it.
Yeah, I mean preseason, I had them beating the Vikings, and it's at home. I mean Vikings, at 4-0. I'm starting to take them serious, so I'm interested to see what happens in a couple weeks. I mean, I'm not sure if Devonta Adams. No one really knows because right now we're filming October 3rd. If he'll be
Mhm.
traded, I have a feeling he will be. But even if he's traded, Max Crosby, I know he's hurt. If he comes back, unless he gets traded, I'm scared of that defense, honestly.
No, 100%. And we can definitely talk about the Raiders when we get there, including that I think they still want their revenge from what Baker Mayfield did to them a few years ago. We can get all into that, and I look forward to it. But yeah, the Rams unfortunately look like a beatable team right now. They don't look like a consistently good football team right now. But I
Mhm.
have a lot of faith in Sean McVay, and I think tying it back into your question earlier, how's the offensive line perform? All things considered, pretty okay. How's the team performed? All things considered, they've been spotty,
Yeah, I mean,
but
because I'm looking
they've
at
been
the
spotty, not hopeless.
I'm looking right at the schedule. After the Packers, we mentioned they have a bye. Then they got Raiders, which I think is winnable. Vikings. I mean,
We'll see how the Vikings do in London. That's
yeah.
always a weird situation.
Then they're at Seattle, which they play pretty good, and then they have
Yeah,
two weak teams, Miami and Patriots. So I'm
okay.
like, it's possible. I mean, I can see them winning four. I mean, being realistic, at least three of those games, four maybe.
We'll see.
It's
They gotta will their way back into the picture right now. They're
yeah.
very out of it,
I'm
but it's
seeing.
so early that everybody's alive technically still.
Because after that, they play Eagles, who I'm not really believing Nick Sirianni. But then after that, it's kind of like a murderer's row. You got
Yeah.
Saints, Bills, Niners, Jets, and then two division games. So I feel like following the bye, it's that stretch of 5 games. Stretch of 5 games from Raiders to Patriots, where I'm like, they got to win
Yeah.
probably 4 of those 5 to have a chance, because then it's looking weak.
Well, and it would be nice to beat Green Bay and go into the bye week. This isn't rocket science. You're just feeling better than if you take a loss. And it'd be huge for McVay to finally beat LaFleur.
Hmm.
And Mike LaFleur is on McVay's staff, the younger brother, or maybe he's the older brother of Matt. I don't know.
Hmm.
But anyway, I know that we wanted to keep this shorter, and I think we ended up talking a while. Do you have any last points that you want to make, or any questions of me, or anything like that? I love just talking Rams, obviously.
Like I said, I've been traveling 4 straight Sundays, so if it's an ugly game, well, I'm missing it anyway. So
Yeah, it might be.
no, I'm excited. Like I said, we want to just do a Rams only video. I know, like I said, I do a lot of the betting side. That's why I pulled up some of the numbers. You listen to more of the press conferences, so I always like to hear what you're saying on things. I also agree with you going back to the over passing yards. I'm taking over 490. I don't
I
know.
think the over is reasonable. I
Mhm.
think both teams. I could see 2-2 scoring a deep one. To be candid, because like I said, I think they've given up a lot of long plays, and I'll almost be shocked if somebody doesn't break behind the Rams secondary for a
Yeah, and you
score, because
can
I think it's happened every week.
because yeah, that's one of the props you can do. You can do longest reception, like Jay Reed, his longest reception over under 25.5 yards.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, I'd take the over.
yeah, two
But
two.
I'm biased. I'm starting him in a fantasy league. I'm starting Jordan Love in a fantasy league. I'm
Ah,
starting these Packers, and it crushes me. I might have to start Sam Darnold over Love.
ah,
Those London games throw me off. I don't know, man.
yeah, they're interesting. I mean, if it's Jacksonville, then take them, but it's not
Yeah.
Jacksonville. This one, yeah, because
Thursday night games are weird too. We got that one tonight.
yeah, I'm
Bucks
excited for that.
Falcons.
I did take, spoiler alert, I took New Orleans in that one. And
You mean
how's
Bucks?
I guess I do have a question for you, because again, I haven't been watching it. I
You
know we
said
were.
New Orleans, but you mean the Bucks tonight, Tampa?
Is that who it is? Tampa. Sorry, I'm taking
No, you're
Tampa.
good. You're good. You're good.
Yeah,
Anyways,
Kirk Cousins isn't good in a dome or a prime time,
I'm
so
going to take the Buccaneers as well. We'll see
ah,
what
nice.
happens.
So I guess I'll do one more question, since I haven't been watching the games much. The kicker, he's a rookie. How has he
Yes.
been doing? I know his
Good. He
kicking.
missed a kick last week, but it was really cool because even though it was a bummer that he missed it, you saw him and the boys on the sidelines, and they were talking about it in the commentary. The laces, Ace Ventura, the laces weren't out. They were actually talking about it. And so we don't know exactly who it was on. It might have just been all three of them, the long snapper, the holder, and the kicker. But what was really great was the next kick was a 52-yarder. And I guess the winds at Soldier Field are different And then a lot of other stadiums, they kind of swirl down there by the, and he
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
but I think if you're a Packers fan, you probably want to take that bet, and we'll see. I mean, that's again, I'm not a bet. It's so tough, and that could go either way. He might just get 6 points, and then you lose, right? Because
Mhm.
he doesn't get you the 6.5. So that can go either way. And I'll tell you what, I'm expecting if you're looking for a prop bet, that Jaden Reed one that you had said, Jalen Reed, excuse me, that you had. I got Jaden Daniels on the mind, I guess. Jalen Reed that you had said was a good one, and then I would look for Tutu to catch a deep one this game,
Mhm. Yeah.
or for Matthew Stafford to throw a couple interceptions because the Green Bay has that guy that's gotten like a pick in every game this year.
Yeah. I mean, you can always do that interception thrown. Yeah. It's negative -135. It's a little juice, but yeah, I
Okay.
guess I'll end with by saying the over under is 48.5. I am taking the Rams to win, which would be the Rams to cover. I'm taking the over. And you have, I think, Packers winning. It's not like covering because you have them winning by 10 points or more. So,
Yeah, I do, and I hope I'm. That would be nice if it was a competitive game,
mhm,
which last week was, because the Arizona Cardinals game was kind of hard to watch. They just got blown out, but I like the way that they've responded. I
mhm.
really do.
And that's the only game that Cardi went. That's the Rams kicker, Cardi. That's the only game he went under his total points. So if we keep
Okay.
it close, I would take his over 6.5. But hey, I'm excited to watch it, or the recap, I should say, since I'll be traveling, and we'll
Yeah.
be back next week with our full regular video, breaking down every game with a new layout. And I'm excited for that. So
Sounds good. Hey,
thanks for
maybe they
talking.
can get after Jordan Love and get a nice win here. We'll see. But thank you for having me, Sammy
Yep.
B. Safe travels. I'll look forward to seeing when you're back. And one love and all that. It's okay, Nova. It's
One
all right.
love. All right. Have a good one. Thanks for
Have a good
tuning
one,
in.
buddy.